The night was silent. The sky outside the broken window was full of ash and smoke. The war had left the land in ruins. The houses were empty and the streets were dead. Inside one of those ruined houses sat a mother. Her skin was pale blue and her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. She was not human. She was from a race that once lived in peace, but now her world had fallen apart. In front of her stood a cradle. It was small, carved from dark wood. Once it had been full of warmth. Once it had held her baby girl, but now it was empty. The blanket inside folded neatly, untouched. The mother sat on the floor, her back against the cold wall, her voice shaking as she sang. It was a lullaby, an old song her people sang to their children. Her voice was soft, but the room echoed with sorrow. She sang as if the baby was still there. She sang to the empty cradle, her hands trembling as she clutched the little cloth toy her daughter once held. Every note carried grief, every word carried pain. She had lost her child during the chaos. She had searched the burning streets. She had screamed her daughter's name until her throat was raw, but there had been no answer. Days had passed, or maybe weeks. Time was broken for her. She no longer counted the hours. She only counted her tears. Her people had whispered that humans had taken children. They said humans were monsters, that they did not care if the young lived or died. She believed her child was gone forever. Still she sang every night. She sang because silence was worse. Silence meant death. Silence meant she had no hope left. As she sang, the wind blew dust across the floor. The cradle creaked softly as if rocking itself. She closed her eyes and imagined her baby's small chest rising and falling, her tiny fingers reaching up, her smile shining like light. But when she opened her eyes, there was nothing, only emptiness, and the sound of her own broken heart. She pressed her hand against the cradle and whispered, "I am still here, my child. I will always be here." Her voice cracked, and tears ran down her cheeks. Suddenly, a noise echoed outside. She froze, her song died in her throat, her pointed ears twitched. It was the sound of footsteps. Heavy, careful, her people were gone. The village was empty. No one should be walking outside. She crawled closer to the cradle, her instincts sharp. She picked up a piece of broken metal, ready to defend herself. Her body shook, but her eyes burned with fire. The footsteps grew louder, closer. She heard the crunch of boots on rubble. She held her breath, her heart pounding. The door creaked. The shadow of a figure fell across the floor. Tall, broad, covered in dust. It was not one of her kind. The figure stepped inside, and in the dim light she saw it clearly. It was a human. Her chest tightened. Her breath caught in her throat. All the stories, all the warnings came rushing back. Her people said humans destroyed without mercy. They killed and burned, they stole children. She tightened her grip on the metal shard. She was ready to fight, ready to die if needed. The human stepped further inside, his face hidden by a helmet, his chest marked with armor, scratched and scarred from battle. But then she noticed something in his arms, something wrapped in cloth. The human did not raise his weapon. He did not shout. He moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid to break something fragile. The mother's eyes locked onto the bundle he carried. Her breath grew sharp, her heart skipped. The cloth moved. A small sound came from inside, a soft cry, weak but real. Her hand trembled, her eyes widened. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "No, it cannot be." The human shifted the cloth, pulling it back just enough, and there, small and alive, lay her daughter. The child's tiny hands moved. Her eyes blinked, her mouth opened to cry. It was her. It was truly her. The mother dropped the metal shard. Her knees gave way. Tears burst from her eyes. She crawled forward but stopped halfway, fear and confusion holding her back. Why was her baby alive? And why was she in the arms of a human, the enemy? The human looked at her, his face still hidden, but his posture spoke of no threat. Slowly, carefully, he bent down and placed the bundle into the cradle. The baby whimpered, then quieted, as if the cradle knew her, as if it remembered its little owner. The mother pressed a hand against her mouth, her voice broken with disbelief. "My child," she whispered again and again. But even as joy rushed into her chest, a question burned inside her heart. Why would a human bring her child back? What did he want? What was the price? The mother looked at the human, her body torn between love and fear. Her song still echoing in the room like a ghost, and in that moment, the silence between them was louder than the war outside. The cradle was no longer empty. The baby lay inside, breathing softly, her small fingers curling around the old blanket. The mother's eyes stayed fixed on her child, afraid that if she blinked, the vision would disappear. But the human was still there, standing in the shadows of the ruined doorway. Silent, unmoving, his armor scratched, his boots covered in dust. He looked like a soldier who had walked through fire. The mother's heart raced, her body shook with both relief and fear. She wanted to run to her child, to hold her, to never let go, but her eyes kept moving back to the human. He was the reason her child was alive, and that truth burned in her mind. Her people said humans stole children. They said humans had no mercy. But here was a human placing a baby back into her cradle, not taking her away, not raising his weapon, not speaking a word. The silence was heavy, only broken by the faint cries of the baby. The mother's voice trembled as she whispered, Why do you bring her back? What do you want?" The human slowly lifted his hands, showing he carried no weapon, his movements calm, careful, like a man trying not to frighten a wounded animal. His helmet tilted, his voice came out low and tired. "She was alone, I found her." The mother narrowed her eyes, her arms pressing against the cradle protectively. "Lies humans do not save. Humans destroy." The soldier did not argue, he only stood there, the sound of his breathing through the helmet steady. After a moment he reached up and unlocked it, slowly pulling the helmet free. His face was rough, lined with dirt and scars. But his eyes were not cruel. They carried a weight, a sorrow that felt strangely familiar. He set the helmet down on the ground, then knelt low so he would not tower over her. His voice was quiet, almost broken. "I did not want her to die. I could not leave her there. Not like that." The mother's breath caught, her grip on the cradle tight. She wanted to scream at him, to drive him out, but part of her wanted to believe him. She looked at her child again, her little chest rising and falling, proof that she lived, proof that this human had not harmed her. "At least not yet, why?" the mother asked again, her voice sharper this time. "Why would a human care for my child?" The soldier lowered his head, his hands resting on his knees. "Because once, I had one too," he whispered, "and I lost her." The mother's heart twisted. The words struck something deep. The pain in his tone was real. It was the kind of pain only a parent could know. But she shook her head, refusing to let her guard fall. "You expect me to trust you because of words, because of sorrow." The soldier's jaw tightened. But he did not rise, he did not threaten her. Instead, he slowly reached into his pack. The mother's body stiffened, ready to grab the metal shard again. But he only pulled out a small bottle, sealed and half filled with clean water. He placed it on the floor between them, sliding it toward her. "She is weak, she needs more than I can give. I brought her here because this is where she belongs." The mother looked at the bottle. Then at him, her mind screamed to stay cautious, but her heart begged her to believe. Her baby stirred, let out a weak cry. She picked her up quickly, holding her close. The child was thinner than before, her skin pale, her strength fading. The mother's tears flowed again, rocking her daughter gently. She whispered, "My baby, my sweet one, you are alive." The soldier watched, his eyes soft, his hands still. He made no move to come closer, only waited. The mother pressed her forehead against her child's. Her heart torn, she wanted to hate the human, but she could not ignore the truth. Without him, her baby would not be here. She looked at him again, her voice low but heavy. "If this is a trick, if you hurt her, I will kill you." The soldier nodded once. No anger in his face, only a sad acceptance. "I know," he said simply. For a moment, the war outside felt far away. The ruined house held only a mother, a child, and a soldier who should have been her enemy. But danger never stayed far in the distance. The sound of shouting echoed through the broken streets, boots striking against stone, voices sharp and cruel. The soldier's head turned quickly, his hand moving to the weapon at his side. His eyes alert. "They are coming," he said. His voice tense, the mother froze, fear filling her veins. "Who?" she asked, clutching her child tighter. "Both," he answered, his eyes scanning the doorway. "Your people hunt me. My people hunt you. If they find us, neither of you will survive." The mother's heart pounded. The baby whimpered. The cradle creaked. The soldier looked back at her, his voice firm now. "You must choose, trust me, or we all die here." The room filled with silence again, but this time it was sharp, heavy, full of danger. The mother's eyes locked on the soldier, her grip on her child firm, her mind racing. Trust a human, or lose everything once more. The cradle rocked gently. The baby's cry broke the silence, and outside the footsteps grew closer, louder. The mother knew she had no time. The footsteps outside grew louder. The shouts echoed closer. The mother held her child tight, her whole body trembling. The human soldier stayed low, his weapon ready. His eyes sharp, he turned to her. His voice firm but not cruel. "We cannot stay here. They will tear this place apart if they see the child. They will take her if they see you. They will kill you." The mother's heart pounded. She looked at the soldier, her enemy, the man who had returned her baby. Her mind screamed not to trust him, but her arms around her child told her she had no choice. The soldier reached for his pack. Pulling out a strip of cloth, he quickly tied it around his arm, covering the mark of his own army, hiding who he was. "They cannot know I helped you," he muttered. Almost to himself, the mother's voice shook. "Why do you care? Why save us? What do you want from me?" The soldier looked at her, his eyes dark with memories. "Nothing, I told you I lost my own. I could not let her die too." She searched his face, trying to find a lie. But all she saw was pain, raw and heavy, a pain that felt like her own. Still, her fear would not leave. She pressed her child close, whispering softly to calm her cries. The baby's weak sound cut through the tense silence. The soldier placed something else on the floor, a small packet sealed and worn. "Food," he said. "She will need strength." The mother stared, her hands shaking, her lips tight. She did not move to take it. "Poison," she whispered. "Maybe this is your trap," the soldier sighed. Not angry, only tired, he tore open the packet himself, eating a piece before her eyes, chewing slowly, swallowing, then placing the rest back near her. "If I wanted you dead, it would already be done," he said quietly. The mother's chest tightened, her fear and her hope clashing inside. She looked at her daughter's small face, pale and fragile. The food could help. The food could save her, but still, she hesitated, her heart chained by mistrust. Outside, the shouts grew closer, boots thundering on broken stone. The soldier's head snapped to the doorway, his body tense. "They are almost here." "You must decide." The mother bit her lip hard, her tears hot. She took the food with shaking hands and pressed it to her child's lips. The baby sucked weakly, her eyes flickering open just a little more. The mother's tears spilled down her face. She whispered, "Thank you." The words tasted bitter and strange, spoken to a human, to her enemy. The soldier nodded once, but his eyes softened. "Do not thank me, not yet," he said, his hand gripping his weapon. "We are not safe." The voices outside grew sharper. The soldier crouched low, motioning for her to stay silent. Through the cracks of the ruined walls, shadows passed, soldiers with guns, some human, some alien, both searching, both hunting. The mother's breath caught, her baby whimpered. She covered the child gently with her cloak, rocking her quietly, praying her cries would not be heard. The soldier's eyes met hers, his gaze hard, warning her not to move, not to speak. The hunters passed, their voices fading, the sound of boots moving away. For now, they were safe. The mother let out the breath she had been holding, her whole body shaking. The soldier stayed silent until the noise was gone, then slowly lowered his weapon. He turned back to her, his voice calm again. "You see now? Both sides want you dead. Both sides want the child gone. She is not safe here." The mother frowned, holding her child close. "Then where can we go? Where will she be safe?" The soldier's jaw tightened, his eyes filled with thought. "There is a place, a hidden outpost. Old and forgotten, not far from here. I can take you. But it will be dangerous." Her breath shook. "Why risk so much for us, for me, for her?" He did not answer right away. His eyes dropped to the baby, his voice low, almost a whisper. "Because when I look at her, I see the one I lost. And I cannot lose her too." The mother's heart twisted. She wanted to stay angry, to keep her walls up, but her tears betrayed her. She looked at him and saw not only an enemy, but a parent broken by grief still. Her fear did not vanish. It lingered heavy, a question sharp in her chest. What does he really want? The soldier stood slowly, checking the ruins again. "If we move now, we have a chance. If we stay, we die," he said firmly. The mother rocked her child, her voice low. "If this is your trick, if you hurt her, I swear I will end you." The soldier met her eyes, steady, calm, without anger. "I know," he said, his voice steady like stone. The cradle creaked as she rose, carrying her baby in her arms. The shadows outside stretched long, the air heavy with danger. For the first time, mother and soldier stepped side by side, not friends, not allies, only bound by the fragile thread of a child's life. The house behind them fell silent, the empty cradle left rocking in the darkness. The night air was cold, the ruins stretched endless around them, broken walls and shattered towers like the bones of a dead giant. The mother carried her child close, her steps quick but quiet. Beside her walked the human soldier, his weapon ready, his eyes sharp. They did not speak at first. Only the sound of their footsteps and the baby's soft breathing filled the silence. Every shadow looked like danger. Every echo felt like a threat. The mother kept her gaze on the child. Her heart beating fast, she wanted to trust no one. Yet she followed the soldier, each step a choice she did not want to make but had to. The soldier walked ahead sometimes, scanning the path, his movements careful. He moved like a man used to war, every muscle alert. But when he looked back at her, there was something softer in his eyes, something unspoken. Hours passed. The stars above were dim, hidden by smoke. The ground cracked and burned from battles long past. The baby stirred in her arms, whimpering softly. The mother paused, rocking her child, whispering a song, her voice low, the same lullaby she had sung to the empty cradle. Only now it was to warm, living ears. The soldier slowed, listening, though he said nothing. The sound of her song drifted through the ruins like a ghost, carrying both sorrow and hope. When the baby quieted, the mother looked up. Her eyes meeting the soldier's, she expected mockery, but instead saw respect. His gaze steady, his face calm. Finally, she broke the silence, her voice cold. "Why do you help me? What is it you gain?" The soldier hesitated. His steps slowing, he looked away for a moment, then back at her. "I gain nothing, I already lost everything. Helping you is the only thing left that feels right." Her eyes narrowed, she wanted to doubt, but the weight in his tone felt real, heavy like stone. They reached a collapsed bridge, broken in half. The soldier motioned for her to wait. He climbed across first, testing the unstable ground, then reached out his hand. "Come," he said. The mother stared at his hand. Her pride and her fear battled inside her. She did not want his help, but the drop below was sharp, her baby's life too fragile. With trembling fingers, she placed her hand in his. His grip was firm, steady. He pulled her safely across. Their eyes met for a second. No words spoken, but something shifted. They moved deeper into the ruins until they found shelter inside a cracked stone hall, its roof broken but walls still strong enough to hide them. The soldier checked the shadows, then set his pack down. The mother sat with her child, wrapping her in the cloak, the baby's small chest rising and falling, her tiny fingers curling in sleep. The soldier sat across from them, pulling out a small metal box. Inside were a few scraps of food, a little more water. He placed them on the floor between them. She hesitated again. Still afraid, still suspicious. "Why share with me? You could keep it." He shook his head slowly. "Because if she dies, then all of this means nothing." The mother looked at her daughter, her throat tight, her heart torn. Slowly she took the water, letting her child drink, every drop a gift, every swallow a chance at life. For a long time they sat in silence, broken only by the crackle of distant fire and the child's breathing. At last the soldier spoke, his voice softer now. "My name is Daniel." The mother blinked. Surprised, she had not expected a name. Not from an enemy, not from a human. "Daniel," she repeated quietly, the word strange on her tongue. He nodded once, his eyes on the ground. "And you?" he asked gently. She hesitated, clutching her baby tighter, then whispered, "Lyra." The name hung in the air, fragile but real. For the first time, they were no longer only soldier and alien, but Daniel and Lyra. Daniel leaned back against the wall, his face tired. "Lyra, I do not ask for trust, I only ask for time. Enough time to keep her safe." Her eyes studied him, his scars, his weary frame. She saw not a monster, but a man broken by the same pain she knew. Still her voice was hard. "If you betray me, Daniel, if you harm her, I will end you." He gave a faint, almost bitter smile. "I would expect nothing less," he replied. The baby stirred again, her small cry echoing in the quiet hall. Lyra rocked her gently, singing softly. Daniel closed his eyes, listening, his chest rising and falling with the rhythm. For a brief moment, the war outside felt distant. The ruins seemed less cruel, the silence between them no longer empty but shared. Yet danger was never gone. In the far distance came the faint hum of machines, the sound of search drones sweeping the ruins, their lights cutting through the night. Daniel opened his eyes, his face sharp again. "They are still searching," he whispered. "We cannot stay long." Lyra's heart sank. The fragile bond they had built already threatened by the world outside. Still, as she looked at Daniel and then at her child, she felt something new, something small, like a seed buried under the ashes, a fragile trust trying to grow. But deep inside her mind, a question lingered, sharp and fearful. Can a human truly be trusted? Or is this only the calm before the storm? The night gave them no peace. The sound of machines hummed in the distance, their glowing eyes sweeping across the ruins. Daniel kept his weapon close, his eyes sharp, while Lyra held her baby tightly against her chest. They moved again before dawn, shadows their only cover. Every broken wall another risk, every open street a death trap. The baby whimpered softly, and each sound felt like thunder in the silence. Daniel walked ahead, scanning for danger, his body tense. Every muscle ready, Lyra followed close, her heart racing, her arms aching from holding her child. But she did not stop. She could not stop. The ruins grew darker, the air heavy with smoke. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Daniel raised a hand suddenly, signaling for silence. Lyra froze, clutching the baby tighter. Voices echoed ahead, deep and sharp. The sound of soldiers, human and alien both. A hunting patrol. Daniel crouched low. Pulling Lyra behind a collapsed wall, they pressed against the stone. Silent still, the footsteps drew closer. Through a crack, Lyra saw them, armored figures, weapons ready, their boots striking hard against the ground. They carried scanners glowing faint red, sweeping the area, searching. The baby stirred, her tiny cry rising in the still air. Lyra's breath caught, panic surged. She pressed her hand gently against her child's lips, rocking her with desperate care, praying the sound would fade. Daniel's eyes met hers, his jaw tight, sweat on his brow. One sound too loud and they were finished. The patrol passed, their voices fading into the distance. But not all of them left. One soldier lingered, his scanner beeping faintly, his head turning toward their hiding place. Daniel's hand gripped his weapon, his eyes hard, ready to strike if needed. But one wrong move would bring the others back. The soldier stepped closer, his scanner pulsing faster. Lyra's heart pounded like thunder. She held her child so close she thought she might break. Then a distant crash echoed through the ruins, stone falling, metal clashing. The soldier turned sharply. Calling out to his group, he ran to join them. The sound of boots fading once more. Daniel exhaled slowly, lowering his weapon, his voice low. That was too close. Lyra's knees shook, her breath shallow. She whispered, "We cannot keep running like this. She is too small. She cannot take it." Daniel's gaze softened, but his tone stayed firm. "If we stop, they will find us. The outpost is still far, but it is our only chance." She looked down at her child, her heart breaking, torn between fear and hope. She wanted safety now, but she knew he was right. They moved again, faster this time, slipping through alleys and tunnels beneath the broken streets. Daniel led with certainty, as if he had walked this path before. Hours passed, every step heavy, every breath strained, until they reached a wide open road. Broken tanks and machines scattered across it, the remains of battles long past. Daniel stopped, scanning the horizon, his voice low. "We must cross. But the road is exposed, no cover if they see us. We will not make it." Lyra's grip on her child tightened, her voice sharp. "Then we wait, find another way." Daniel shook his head, his eyes steady. "There is no other way, we must move now." He looked at her, his voice softer. "Stay close, follow me. Do not stop no matter what happens." Her breath trembled, but she nodded, holding her child close, her heart heavy with dread. They stepped onto the road, moving quickly. Their feet silent on the cracked ground, the baby stirred again. Letting out a soft cry, Lyra rocked her gently, whispering a song to calm her. Halfway across, a sudden light cut through the smoke. Sharp and blinding, a drone above whirred to life, its red eye locking onto them. Daniel cursed under his breath, raising his weapon. "Run!" he shouted, his voice sharp. Lyra's legs moved before she could think, her cloak flying behind her, clutching her baby as she ran. The drone's alarm blared, red beams sweeping the ground. Gunfire cracked in the distance, soldiers alerted. Boots pounding closer, Daniel fired. The drone burst in sparks, falling to the ground. But the sound of his shots echoed across the ruins, giving away their place. "Keep moving," he shouted, running beside her, his weapon spitting fire at the shadows behind. Lyra's breath burned in her chest, her arms numb, her child crying, the world a blur of smoke and stone. Figures appeared behind them, soldiers pouring onto the road, human and alien both, united in the hunt. Daniel grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her toward a narrow gap between two walls. "This way," he shouted. They slipped inside, the passage dark and narrow, the baby's cries echoing, the sound of boots chasing them close. Lyra stumbled, nearly falling. Daniel caught her, holding her steady, his voice harsh. "Do not stop for her sake. Do not stop." They ran until their lungs burned, the shouts behind them fading slowly until only silence remained. At last, Daniel pulled her into a hidden chamber beneath the ruins. An old bunker, its door heavy and rusted, he shut it tight, sealing them inside. The mother collapsed to her knees, holding her child close, rocking her, her tears spilling. I cannot do this, she cannot do this. She will not survive. Daniel knelt beside her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder, his voice low. She will, because you will not give up. And because I will not let her die. Lyra looked at him, her eyes full of tears, fear, and something more. A question she dared not ask. Why is he doing this? Why risk everything? The baby's cries softened. Fading into sleep, the bunker silent once more. But outside, the war raged on, and both knew the chase was far from over. The bunker was dark, the air thick with dust. Faint light leaked through cracks in the ceiling. Daniel sat near the door, his weapon resting against his shoulder, his eyes fixed on the shadows outside, always waiting, always listening. Lyra sat in the corner, her child curled in her arms, the baby's soft breaths calming her heartbeat. But fear still wrapped around her like chains. She looked at Daniel, the human soldier who had saved them again and again, and her mind filled with questions she could no longer hold back. At last her voice broke the silence, sharp and trembling. Why? Why do you keep risking your life for us? Why do you fight your own kind? What are you hiding from me? Daniel turned his head slowly, his face tired, his eyes dark. He did not answer at once. He seemed to carry a weight so heavy that words could barely hold it. Lyra's voice grew harder. I cannot trust a human without reason. You return my daughter, you shield us, but you give no truth. Tell me, or I walk into the night and take my chances. Her threat hung in the air, her eyes burning with defiance. Daniel studied her for a long moment, then set his weapon aside, his shoulders sagging as though the strength left his body. His voice was low, almost a whisper. I once had a daughter, too. Lyra froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Daniel's words hung heavy, filled with sorrow. He looked down at his hands, scarred and rough. Her name was Sarah. She had brown hair. She loved to sing. Every night she sang herself to sleep, her voice soft and bright. His eyes glistened, though no tears fell. She was my world. Lyra clutched her baby closer. Her heart tightening, Daniel's voice broke. Just slightly, one night. When the bombs fell, our home was destroyed. I searched the rubble, I screamed her name. But she was gone, buried in the fire. My wife too, everything gone. The bunker felt colder, his pain filling every corner. Lyra's chest ached as though the grief were her own. I swore I would never forgive this war, Daniel said, his jaw tight, his voice bitter. But war does not care for promises. It takes and takes until nothing is left. I kept fighting because it was all I knew. But when I found your daughter, alone in the ruins, so small, so helpless, I could not leave her. She reminded me of Sarah, of what I lost. And for the first time I felt something again, something more than anger. Lyra's tears blurred her vision, her lips trembling, her heart torn. She saw no lie in his words, only truth carved deep into his soul. She whispered softly, You saved her, not because she was mine, but because she was hers. Daniel nodded slowly, his eyes closing for a moment. I saved her because she was a child, because no child deserves to be left in the dark, no matter the world she is born to. For a long time, silence filled the bunker, broken only by the baby's gentle breaths. Lyra wiped her tears, her voice still heavy with doubt. But why bring her back to me? You could have kept her, raised her, claimed her as your own. Daniel shook his head, his voice steady. She is not mine, she is yours. She belongs in your arms. No matter what lies between our people, no matter the hate, I could not steal what I already lost. Lyra looked at him, her anger softening, though fear still clung to her heart. And yet your people will call you traitor. My people will call me fool. Both will hunt us. Why still stay? Daniel leaned back against the wall, his eyes on the ceiling, his voice calm but firm. Because I already lost everything, and saving you both gives me reason to keep breathing. I do not care what they call me. I care that she lives. Lyra's hands trembled as she stroked her daughter's hair, her voice quiet. You are human and I am not. Yet your pain feels like mine, your loss feels like mine. Maybe grief is the only bridge between us. Daniel looked at her, his gaze steady. Grief and love, he said simply. Her heart twisted, her tears falling silently. She rocked her child gently, whispering, Then perhaps, just perhaps, you are not the monster I was told you were. For the first time since they met, Daniel let a small breath of relief escape. Not a smile, but a release of weight. But the moment of calm did not last. Outside, the sound of engines roared, soldiers shouting, machines moving closer. The hunt had not ended. Daniel stood quickly, grabbing his weapon, his voice sharp again. They are near. We must move before dawn. The bunker will not hold, Lyra rose, her baby clutched tight, her fear alive again. But in her chest now beat something new. Not just fear, not just hate, but a fragile trust. She looked at Daniel, his figure strong against the faint light, and whispered to herself, maybe fate did not bring him to me, maybe grief did. But grief gave me back my child. Daniel glanced back at her, his eyes steady. Stay close, Lyra. Whatever happens, I will not let her go. The baby stirred, her small cry rising again, the sound carrying into the night. And outside, the enemy closed in. The night was breaking. The first light of dawn crept across the ruins, smoke rising like ghosts into the pale sky. Daniel led the way, his weapon ready, his steps quick. Behind him, Lyra carried her child close, her heart racing with every breath. The bunker was far behind them now, but danger was closer than ever. Engines roared, soldiers shouted. The enemy had found their trail. Daniel turned, his face set like stone. They will not stop. They want her. They want you. And they want me dead. His eyes burned with resolve. We must reach the outpost. It is our only chance. Lyra's arms tightened around her child. Her voice cracked. And if we do not make it, Daniel did not answer. His silence was enough. They moved through broken streets. The sound of boots pounding grew louder behind them. Red beams cut through the smoke. Search drones hovered above, their lights hunting. Faster, Daniel said, his voice sharp. Lyra pushed herself to run, her body aching, her legs trembling. But she would not stop, not with her daughter in her arms. A gunshot cracked, stone shattered near her head. Lyra stumbled, Daniel pulled her forward, returning fire. His weapon flashing, soldiers scattered behind rubble, the air filled with screams and smoke. They ducked into a collapsed tunnel, running through the darkness. The sound of water dripping, the stench of rust and ash. Daniel checked every corner, every shadow guiding them through. But the tunnel ended at a wide chamber. Its roof collapsed, light streaming down, too open, too exposed. Daniel cursed under his breath. They will catch us here. Lyra's breath shook, her eyes wide. Then what do we do? The baby whimpered, her cry echoing through the chamber. The sound too loud, too sharp. The hunters would hear. Daniel turned, his face torn with decision, his eyes heavy with truth. We do not have much time. He handed her a small device, old and cracked, a beacon, its faint light blinking. This will lead you to the outpost. Follow it north. There will be shelter. People who can protect you. Lyra stared at him, her hands shaking. You speak as if you will not come with us. Daniel looked at her child, then back at her, his voice low, steady. If I stay with you, they will catch us, but if I hold them back, you have a chance. Her heart shattered. No, you cannot leave us, not now. Daniel gave a faint, broken smile. I already lost one daughter. I will not lose another, not while I can still fight. Tears blurred Lyra's vision, her voice rising. But she needs you, I need you. You cannot die for us. Daniel placed a hand gently on the child's blanket, his fingers trembling, his eyes soft. She does not need me. She needs you, her mother. Her light, her hope. I am only the shield. And shields break so the ones behind them live. The sound of boots thundered through the tunnel, shouts echoing. They were coming fast. Lyra clutched the beacon, her whole body shaking. Daniel, please. There must be another way. He stood tall, his weapon in hand, his eyes burning with fire. There is no other way, but know this, Lyra. No matter what they said of humans, remember me not as enemy, but as a father who could not let another child be taken. Her tears fell freely. She wanted to scream, to fight, to stop him, but she knew his choice was already made. Daniel stepped back toward the tunnel entrance, his figure strong against the growing light, his voice sharp. Go now, while you still can. The baby cried louder, her small arms reaching out as if she knew. Lyra kissed her child's head, whispering through her sobs. Remember his face? Remember his gift? She looked at Daniel one last time, her heart breaking. May the stars guide you. Daniel gave a nod, firm and final, then turned toward the enemy, his weapon raised, his voice a roar. Come then! Gunfire exploded. The chamber shook with the storm of battle. Daniel's figure lost in the fire and smoke. Lyra ran, clutching her child, following the beacon's faint light, her tears falling, her voice whispering the lullaby once more, a song of sorrow and hope. Behind her, the echoes of war raged. the sound of Daniel's fight filling the ruins. She did not look back, she could not, for if she did, her legs would fail, her heart would break. She ran until her lungs burned, until the light of the beacon grew stronger, until the smoke behind her faded into silence. When she reached the hill beyond the ruins, the outpost lights glimmered in the distance. Her baby slept in her arms, safe, alive. But the cradle of her memory would never be empty again, for in her heart lived both her child's life and the sacrifice of a human who chose compassion over war. And though she never knew if Daniel survived, she carried his truth with her forever, that even in a universe torn by hate, one human's choice could save everything.